It's like my mind just keeps running and running and running.
Okay, I was told a long time ago to let the drama go and go and find a goal. Run for the edge like Geronimo. Sky high, I fly, I'm Vamanos. All that was a lifetime ago. Nowadays, I just gotta make time to go. Take my G's to Belize, now we all overseas, man. Look at what God be on. Lord, guide me on, guide me home. When I die, I reside where I belong. When I fly, I delight, the flight is long. Give me time, clear my mind and find my zone. Yeah, introverted work, please do not disturb. I just need some time for me. Isolate and meditate and pray and wait and hope somebody pray for me. Paint these pictures, bury my face in scripture. Pray to my soul deliver. Fall on my knees, I know he hear me. I was on cruise control. That's how you lose control. And you're gonna be what you pursue. I had to renew my goals.
And for 1 second, all my problems fade to gray like no one saw them. I get a God's eye view on everything, looking out my window pane. Wheels up, put the seats back. Wheels up, put the seats back. Yo, 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 yo. Some days I can't believe how far we made it. I thank God for the fans and pray for patience. At 20,000 feet we climbing straight up. Wheels up, put the seats back. Wheels up, put the seats back.
I done been through too much. Scared I'ma lose my touch. I'm tryna hold what I can't have. Lord God, please loosen up my grasp. I've been broken hearted, mind departed, stopped and started. Lost my hope and lost my way. I let my lust and bring destruction. No discussion with the God who gave me grace. 5:46 in the morning, mind still turning. God had to bring me back. I ain't even really wanna rap no more. Wheels up with the seat back, let's go. Wow, people having dreams about me, they was right. I was losing sight. Then I clicked my heels and then he lift the wheels and we above the clouds. There's no rain tonight. And I'm finally seeing with the clearer vision I believe. God is greater than all of this trouble that I see. Trapped under the sea, I wait to see what swallow me. I'm finally free.
And for 1 second, all my problems fade to gray like no one saw them. I get a God's eye view on everything, looking out my window pane. Wheels up, put the seats back. Wheels up, put the seats back. Yo, 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 yo. Some days I can't believe how far we made it. I thank God for the fans and pray for patience. At 20,000 feet we climbing straight up. Wheels up, put the seats back. Wheels up, put the seats back. Wheels up, put the seats back. Some days I can't believe how far we made it. Thank God for the fans and pray for patience.
We've got some exciting news that it's making us do flips of joy. Starting this Sunday, we will meet in our new youth room. We have placed easy-to-follow signs from the lobby all the way to the new youth room. Be Good will be in the main lobby guiding anyone who needs help, and we will have a goodie bag for you as we celebrate Back to Church Sunday. Don't forget to spread the news. Invite someone. See you Sunday.
Your palms are sweaty. You have butterflies in your stomach. Let's face it, you're scared. You've rehearsed this conversation in your head 1,000 times. Immediately, your mind starts racing to the worst-case scenario. What if she says no, or laughs at me? What if she thinks I'm a weirdo that lives in a van? What if she has ties to the Russian mafia and I end up sleeping with the fishes? Thankfully, you snap out of it. There's no way that'll ever happen. After all, she seems like a friendly person, always nice to you at work. Unlike Kathy. What's Kathy's problem anyway? Wait, you're getting off topic. Stop stalling and be a man. You can do this. Just ask. You pick up the phone. Your mind is made up. You're gonna do it. After you check Facebook. 20 minutes later, you work up the courage again and you make the call. It rings. You want to hang up, but it's too late. She answers.
Hello?
Your mind goes blank. You didn't think it through this far.
Hey, I'm next to you. I sit next to you at work. It's It's Tim.
What are you saying?
Oh, hey Tim. What's up? Something go wrong with the Jenkins account?
Jenkins, no.
Why are you laughing?
Actually, I have a question I've been meaning to ask you for a while. Where do you get your teeth cleaned?
The dentist? Why?
Yes, Tim, why? Why would you ask that question?
No reason. So, what are you doing this weekend?
No plans. How about you?
Here's your chance. Your heart starts pounding and your voice quivers as you nervously blurt out.
Do you want to go with me to church?
Inviting someone to church doesn't have to be like an awkward first date. Just ask.
The changes brought by COVID-19 have been difficult. Our lives changed overnight as everything shut down. We were forced to deal with isolation in a way that we have never experienced before. But suddenly, in the midst of darkness, God showed up, like He always does, turning fear into faith, quarantine into connecting, and downtime into quality time. Relationships were strengthened unexpectedly, and another thing changed. People all over the world, including our friends, neighbors, and family members, became more open than ever before to hearing the gospel of hope. The pandemic shook us, but it did not crush us. We shared good times and bad times virtually. We realized what is truly important in this world: each other. The church rose up to help those in need and to be the hands and feet of Jesus during these difficult times. And as life returns to normal and things reopen, we will never forget how important our relationships are and the value of spending time with loved ones in person. Think of every person in your life at every stage and every age. Inviting them to Back to Church Sunday could be a defining moment for them. It's an opportunity to change a life of someone that you care about. We need each other's support and friendship because in every way that God connects us, we are stronger together. That's what makes us stronger. Who will you invite to Back to Church Sunday?
I think we got it mixed up. We think we got all the time in the world. Maybe we shouldn't spend our time in the world. Just keep comfy. Just keep coming to church to talk about what we would do if we were to somehow, maybe, possibly be witness to the God who is eternity's only witness. You know what I think? I think our enemy thinks it's cool we keep preaching sermons that make us think, but never do, make us tweet, never move. We're fearful of their faces, scared they won't hand us that stamp of approval. We'd rather leave it up to, other Christians. But if every other Christian leaves it up to every other Christian, no one will make others Christians. We say, leave it up to God. He's got it all under control. But God's sovereignty is not a bench to sit excuses on, but a bus to travel into the darkest of places without fear. Remember who we follow. Remember Jesus followed our sin down into death's den, did an inside job. He worked the grave shift on a weekend. Plot twist, he gave death the toe tag, told us go tell that, spill the beans, the lion is out the bag, the king is calling. If death can't even defeat us, then why should we fear their faces? Why should we stay in our seats? Why won't we stand up? Why should our phones do all our handiwork when we can leave fingerprints in eternity? Now, let us not think the kingdom is too far, or we too young, or the world's rejection too big to overcome. Heads down, hands to the plow, there is work to do. What do we have to fear? What do we have to lose?
Hey, I don't know about you guys, but I love a good movie, right? Anyone like that? Like, you could binge watch for days if you just had nothing on your schedule. I love stories, but let's be honest, I like a pretty good short story. In fact, I feel like the best stories can be summed up in the fewest amount of words. In fact, one of my favorite stories can be summed up in 6 words. In a galaxy far, far away, right? Star Wars, it's just such an epic opener of just 6 words. It already has you hooked on the storyline. And the classical, fantasy fairy tale stories, they can be summed up in just 4 words. Once upon a time. But I believe that one of the greatest stories that we as the church can ever tell is just 3 words. In fact, that story is my story. My story can really be just summed up in 3 beautiful words, and it's just this: I was invited. That's my story. I was invited. I was a kid that was invited to church. Growing up, I wasn't a Christian. I was actually a Jehovah's Witness. It looks like Christianity, but it's not. Just to put it simply, the Jehovah's Witness was a cult that I grew up in. I would have been the 3rd generation of Jehovah's Witnesses in my family. My grandparents were Jehovah's Witness, my mom was a Jehovah's Witness, and me and my siblings would have been Jehovah's Witnesses too. And here's what you need to know about being a Jehovah's Witness. Pretty much, you're scared that anything and everything is going to send you to hell. If you celebrate Christmas, you're going to hell. Open up that present, you're going to hell. If you sing the happy birthday song, yeah, you can't do that. You can't celebrate birthdays if you're a Jehovah's Witness. Even saluting a flag or saying the Pledge of Allegiance, you feared would send you to hell. Pretty much, just imagine anything that could cause joy sent you to hell. That was my first impression of who God was. Now, let me just be clear, that was the wrong impression of God, but that was my first impression of God. I feared that God was constantly just watching me under a microscope, waiting for me to mess up so he could press that smite button and just destroy me. Does that sound familiar to you? Maybe you grew up that way too. Maybe you're not a Christian. You're just someone who just got invited to church this week and you're dipping your toe into this church thing and you grew up with that same impression. That God is just like the anti-fun. So here's what happened. My mom remarried. The guy that she got married to wasn't that religious, and so they decided to compromise and not go to church at all. And I still had this impression that God was still waiting with that smite button. And can I be honest? This was about 5th or 6th grade, and I was kind of a punk back then. I was the kid that when your youth pastor invites you to invite people to church, I was the kid that you didn't want to invite to church. I knew more cuss words than a sailor as a 6th grader, which sounds a little weird, but you've probably seen it. I was that kid, the kid that kids were probably too scared to bring to church. Until one week, my friend TJ invited me to his church. Now, he wasn't weird about it. He wasn't like, hey, speaking of football, you know who's a touchdown in my book? Jesus, right? He didn't do that. My friend TJ, he walked up to me at lunch and he's like, hey man, we're gonna go play some dodgeball at my church. Do you wanna come tonight? And I was like, yeah, I like to hit people with dodgeballs. That sounds awesome. So I went to TJ's church. And of course, we played dodgeball, and I had the time of my life. But I also heard about Jesus. See, in the Jehovah's Witness church, we didn't really believe in Jesus. He was just some other character in the Bible. The main character was God, and he wanted to smite you, so you better behave. But I learned about Jesus. In fact, Jesus talked about God in an entirely different light. He talked about God loving us unconditionally, that there is nothing we could do, there is no sin we could commit that would stop God from loving us. And I remember we quoted this verse that night. We read it out loud, and it was, there is no fear in perfect love because perfect love casts out all fear. That night, I decided to follow Jesus. I was the kid that no one wanted to invite to church. I was the kid that people were like, that's not someone you invite to a church because it's too clean and he's too dirty. But my story was changed with just 3 words. I was invited. And see, that's the power of stories. Stories invite us into something bigger than ourselves. My story was my own, but at the same time, it was grafted into the story of Jesus with just 3 words. I was invited. And yes, I was invited to play dodgeball, but I was invited to so much more. And maybe you've got a kid like me that you can think of whenever a youth pastor says, hey, I want you to invite 3 friends to the event this weekend. I want you to invite 3 friends to camp. I want you to invite 3 friends to church. And you probably come up with excuses right off the back of your head, like, you know what, they're probably not the kid that you want. They're not the kid that you would want to see in church. Like, trust me, I'm doing you a favor by not inviting this kid. But here's the thing, when you invite people, it's not just you inviting them to something. You're inviting their story into the story of Jesus. You're bringing them one step closer to changing their mind about God. And you might not see someone as worth inviting. You might look at them and be like, that's not the person you want to invite to church. But through the eyes of Jesus, when Jesus looked at someone, he saw every single person worth inviting into his story. Every person that was in his life was worth inviting. In fact, there's a story in the New Testament where Jesus comes across a guy named Zacchaeus. And if you've grown up in church, you know him as Zacchaeus, as the wee little man hiding up in a sycamore tree. But no one wanted to invite Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus, he was a punk. In fact, he was worse than a punk. Zacchaeus, he was the chief of the tax collectors. He was the boss of these guys called tax collectors. And to you, you might be like, okay, so people hated taxes back then. Nothing's changed, right? But here's what a tax collector was. I want you to imagine that ISIS has taken over our nation. They have conquered wherever you're at. And just to make sure that they can keep conquering other nations and to keep your community under their thumb, they recruit your neighbors to collect money for them. These were the tax collectors. And to keep themselves employed, they would take even more money on top of that. Sometimes they would charge more than what they needed. They would charge double the taxes than what they were supposed to be collecting. They weren't just thieves. They were traitors to their nation. I want you to imagine if your neighbor was a traitor to your nation and they were also stealing from you, wouldn't you not hate them too? You would look at that person, you'd say, that is a person that is not worth inviting. The only thing that person deserves is death. But Jesus looked at Zacchaeus, the chief of the tax collectors, and he saw them as someone worth inviting. He saw that their story could be grafted into his story. And he entered Jericho and was passing through, and behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich, and he was seeking to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house. See, here's Jesus inviting himself into Zacchaeus' life. He's like, Zacchaeus, I want to eat dinner with you. And when Jesus said this, like Zacchaeus hurries down the tree, like he wastes no time, and it says that he received him joyfully. But here's what happens. When the crowd sees all of this happening, they start to grumble and complain. This is the kid that you don't want to come to your youth group. This is the kid that cusses like a sailor and smokes and does all the things that you're not supposed to do in church. And the crowd is looking at this moment, they're like, Jesus, what are you doing? Do you not know who this guy is? He's a tax collector. He's a traitor. This guy is a garbage human being. And here's what happens next. Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold. Because Jesus invited Zacchaeus into his story, he was transformed, and his behavior showed it. He told the crowd, whatever I have, half of it is going to the poor. And if I stole anything from anyone, if I took more than what I needed, I'm going to give it back 4 times. If I stole $25 from you, I'm giving you back 100. If I stole $250 from you, I'm giving back 1,000 to you. And here's what I love about this. Jesus knows the transformation is happening because his story has been changed by 3 words, I was invited. This is what Jesus tells the crowd. Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. There are people in your life that only you have access to. I can't reach them. Neither can your youth pastor or whoever else is in your church. They are in your life for a reason, on purpose, for a purpose. Because God wants you to invite them into the story of Jesus. And you might look at them and think they're not worth inviting. But here's the reality. Jesus didn't come to save the people that are clean and healthy. He came to seek the sick and the lost. He came to seek those that you would think would never belong in a church. That's why my challenge to you today is this: be an inviter. Because when we start inviting people in the church, when we start inviting people to youth group, what's happening is we're changing their story completely. You have the power to change someone's life. Just those 3 words. I was invited. When my friend TJ invited me, he had no idea what was going to happen with my life after that invite. But here's what happened. I gave my life to Jesus. I ended up leading 2 more of my friends to Christ because of that, and I ended up becoming a youth pastor. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with students, how many people who their lives have been changed because one of my friends had the audacity to invite me to his church. And because of that invite, he's changed the lives of so many more people. That's the power that you have with your invite. So who are you going to invite today?
I felt your goodness on the mountain, and I saw your love down in the valley, and your grace, it still surrounds me. God, you've been good to me. Yes, you've been good to me. And my soul sings, my soul, it sings with all my heart. I love you, Lord. You're my first love. You're my reward. And through the years, you've been good to me. So good to me. So good to me. I have breath inside my body, and I have life inside my bones, and I cannot help but praise you. God, you've been good to me. Yes, you've been good to me. Come on, my soul sings, and my soul sings, my soul sings, and my soul sings with all my heart. I love you, Lord. You're my first love. You're my reward. Oh, how true that is. And through the years, you've been good, you've been good, you've been good to me. So good to me. So good to me. Faithful through the ages. Faithful through the ages. Now I'm dancing on the rising sun to the hopeful future and the dreams to come. And when seasons change, no, I won't give up. Oh, you never failed me. No, not once. Now I'm dancing on. Now I'm dancing on the rising sun to the hopeful future and the dreams to come. And when seasons change, no, I won't give up. You never failed. Oh, you never failed me. No, my soul says, and my soul says, my soul says, with everything that I am, oh my soul, it sings, my soul sings, and my soul sings with all my heart. I love you, Lord. You're my first love. You're my reward. And through the you've been good. You've been good. seen your faithfulness in every step I've taken. In every step I've taken. Your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm filled with gratitude tonight. Filled with thanksgiving tonight. You're better than I know. Better than I'd hope you'd be. Better than I know. Better than I'd hope you'd be. Your goodness surrounds me, God. You're better than I know, better than I'd hope you'd be. We enter your gates with praise and into your courts with thanksgiving. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Yeah. You're better than I know. Better than I hope you'll be. I couldn't have dreamed of a better God. I couldn't have dreamed of a better Father. I couldn't have dreamed of a better God. I couldn't have dreamed of a better Father. The truth of the matter is, I couldn't have dreamed of a better God. No, yeah. I couldn't have dreamed of a better Father. With all my heart. With all my heart. I love you, Lord. Oh, how true it is. You're my first love. You're my and through the years, come on. And through the years, you've been good to me. So good to me. So good to me. Looked in his eyes and it freed my soul. My soul knows it. I got this joy and it won't let go. Looked in his eyes and it freed my soul. I've got this joy and it won't let go. My soul knows it. I got this joy and it won't let go. Looked in his eyes and it freed my soul. And it won't let go. And my soul knows I got this joy and it won't let go. Looked in his eyes and it freed my soul. I've got this joy and it won't let go. Oh, my soul knows it. I got this joy and it won't let go. Looked in his eyes and it freed my soul.
Hey guys, thanks for watching our LS Youth channel. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And also, we want to stay connected, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Well,